The majority of photographs taken on digital cameras can be improved with a little bit of editing. Now, if you think you want to try editing but don't want to spend a great deal of money, then your best option may well be this one here, Adobe Photoshop CS2. Adobe Photoshop is the industry standard for editing photographs and digital imaging. And the current version is quite expensive. However, CS2 is an old version and is absolutely free. And it has the advantage that if you get used to using that and you decide you want something a bit more sophisticated, then the interface will look very, very similar. When you download Photoshop CS2, it comes with two other programs. One is called Image Ready, which is something you'll probably never use. And the other one is called the Bridge. Now, the Bridge is a really useful program which helps you document and store your photographs. It doesn't move your photographs from where you've got them, but it identifies where they are and it shows them to you. If we open up Photoshop, the first thing we see is a little notice asking us to register. This will come up every single time whatever you do, so just click on do not register and that disappears. Then you get this thing, which again this one you can stop by unticking that and close, but there are some tutorials there which you might find helpful. So this is the workspace, and it can look a little bit confusing at first, but if you break it down into bite-sized chunks, it's not too bad. Up here we got a series of menus which will be familiar from all other Windows programs. Each menu's got a pile of different commands under it, but don't worry, you don't have to learn them all. All that happens is that once you need to use something, you go to one of these menus. There will be some more videos coming later which will show you exactly what you need to do with those. Here we have our toolbox, and it's quite a comprehensive toolbox, and it's very, very similar to the toolbox in the latest version of Photoshop Elements or even Photoshop CC. So over here we have a number of panels which have got quite a lot of information, some of which is useful, some is less useful. If you want to get rid of any, you go into Window and untick the ones you don't want. If you subsequently find that you do want some, or you want some of these others, you just put a tick by them and they come back again. So let's have a quick look at the menus and at that and at the toolbox. Now, there's an important job you need to do early on, and that's Edit, Preferences, General. Now this looks boring, but it's very, very useful. The first page is General, and as a general rule you can leave that exactly as it is, and the same with File Handling. And the first one we need to change is Display and Cursors. It usually comes with, you want it a normal brush tip, but sometimes when you open it, it'll come as standard brush tip, and I'll show you what the problem is with that. If we just create a new document, Control N, okay, here we are, and we pick up a paintbrush from there, it looks like a paintbrush. And if we draw, it's very difficult to judge what size it is. I've just made the paintbrush bigger, but you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at it. Now I'm going to make the paintbrush smaller, but looking at the paintbrush you haven't got a clue. Over here we have one of the useful panels, which is History. It shows everything that we've done. So if I go back to there, that gets rid of all that. So now if I go back into Edit, Preferences, Display and Cursors, and change it from standard to normal brush tip, and click OK, pick up the brush again and we move it across, and we can see a little circle, that's the size of the brush. Now if we can either go up here to make the brush bigger, like that, or an easier way is to hit the square bracket keys. I'm going to hit the right bracket key now and the brush gets bigger. or I can hit the left square bracket key and the brush gets smaller, and we know exactly what we're doing. So that is actually a very useful thing to modify. So just get rid of all that. And we'll go back into Edit, Preferences. So we've done now units and rulers. I like mine set to inches, but you can change it to whatever you want, pixels, centimeters, blah blah blah. Inches I find helpful for me, and that gives you a default print resolution, and all the rest of it could be left exactly as it is. So we go from unit rulers to guides, grids. Now guides and grids, it's guides, grids and slices. What we've got here, I recommend putting a grid line every 25%. You can change this to pixels, inches, centimeters, blah blah. I recommend percent with 4 subdivisions, and I'll show you why. If we just make this nice and large, and we go into View, Show, Grid, we've got that, which can be really useful when you're trying to line things carefully. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions, and each division has got another division every 25% or quarter, and I find that quite a useful way of doing things. Now we can alter that by going to Edit, Preferences, Guides, Grids, and if we want, we could have subdivisions. We want 4, we could change that to 50%, and we could OK that, and we get a slightly simpler grid like that. So that you can vary that depending on what you want, and you can switch that grid on and off by going to View, Show, Grid, okay, and then Edit, Preferences, Plugins and scratch disks. Again, leave that exactly as it is. It's only if you purchase some additional plugins that you need to click on there and tell Photoshop where you've put them. That's a bit more advanced though. Memory image cache, you can leave that as it stands, and you can leave type as it stands as well. So just a couple of things there that need to be changed, and that will make your life an awful lot easier. One final thing on this which I find useful is if you go into View, Rulers, then you'll find you get rulers at the side there and at the top. And if you're trying to line something up, you can click on the ruler, bring down a guide, put them anywhere you want, as many as you want, and then they don't print off, but if you want to get rid of them, you just pull them off like this. And I find that quite useful. This ruler can be set to inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, picas or percent. Percent is often quite useful as well. That's halfway through your document. That's the one end. It's quite a useful thing when you're trying to, if you're trying to make something like a birthday card or Christmas card where you need to line things up precisely. So there we are, a brief walkthrough of Photoshop CS2. Look out for further videos showing you how you use it. So have fun editing.